Hello and welcome. Very often, politics and religion mix in Nigeria, and when they do, they sometimes leave a sour taste in the mouth. But are there exceptional exceptions to the rule? Pardon my language. We'll find out which road or which way leads to salvation for the politician and the cleric. We'll have answers to these questions on Fireworks today. I am Bukola Samuel-Wemimo. At this point, we'll take a break, during which we'll find out who will be answering our questions today. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying tuned. I have with me on Fireworks today the senior pastor, the Foundation of Truth Assembly, Reverend Yomi Kasali. Thank you very much for your time on Fireworks. Of course, you might also want to know, or you already know, that Reverend Kasali was an active member of the Vice President's campaign train during the 2015 presidential election. Of course, Vice President Yemi. Thank you for your time. Now, let's start with some of your convictions that are very popular. I want to be up close now with those convictions. What are your convictions about the anti-corruption war, and why do you hold them?
But I think my convictions against corruption in this country is very personal. I am a leader of people. I have within my fold as a pastor quite a lot of young people, unemployed people, those that probably earn less than $1 a day. Our church is located somewhere where we have a few of those that are less privileged. And sometimes when I feel the pain of the fact that we have lots of graduates, lots of young secondary school students, post-secondary school, who cannot get admission to universities, people that, I run a clinic in church, and I see scores of people come, free clinic, scores of people come to our church clinic on a weekly basis just to get anti-malaria dosage, to get some pain reliefs. And I'm like, wait a minute, are things this bad out there? My convictions are based on my street work. I walk on the street. I'm close to the people on the street. I know the pain of the people on the street, and I feel the pain sometimes. I know how much money.
But besides the reality of the pain of the people on the street, the anti-corruption war of the current administration, what are your thoughts on its approach to tackling corruption? I think
it's fine. I think they can do much better. I think they should be much more fierce. I do not support the idea that people have that it's a bit sectarian or it's a bit partisan. I doubt that. It's because we've not understood the consequences of corruption. Corruption has killed more people in this country than terrorism. I've said that often. Corruption has killed many more people. Infant mortality rate is high. People are mothers.
Is it safer for you to align yourselves with the consequences of corruption rather than the process of tackling corruption now?
I think the process is weak, in my opinion. You see, people have said we should have anti-corruption, special anti-corruption courts. I totally support that. If we have special tribunals for election, post-election.
Weak, not selective.
No, not selective. I don't think selective. I doubt if it's selective. I mean, for crying out loud, this is just normal.
So some perceived enemies are not being targeted?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I doubt it.
So you have no reservations about some being led into the court in handcuffs and others not being led into the court?
Now, that's a moral issue. That's a legal issue and a moral issue. In my opinion, we need to find out what the law says about that. I felt when I saw the pictures of Olisa Metu being put in handcuffs, I thought that would be a bit more overbearing, high-handed. I thought so. But I'm not against the prosecution. For whatever reasons the prison authorities thought they should put him in handcuffs, that's theirs. But I think we should ignore that and begin to look at the bigger picture of corruption, or else we start battling the things that don't, the minors, and ignore the majors. I think that's a minor thing. In my opinion, that's minor, frankly. That's what I'm saying. We're now beginning to push the minor issues and forget the bigger one, that this guy is being tried for corruption. For whatever, whether he's guilty or not, I do not know. We must presume him innocent until found guilty. However, do not let us fight over minor issues.
Fine, Reverend. The major issue is, corruption itself.
Corruption, yes.
Benefiting from the Dasuki arms deal scam.
Yes.
That's the major issue.
Yes.
So are you of the view that everyone who has benefited should be prosecuted?
Absolutely.
Everyone?
Do you know how many people have died?
So if men of God, for instance, seem to have benefited or may have been benefited, they should be prosecuted.
Quote me anywhere. If found guilty, they should face the full wrath of the law. We may fight for pardon, but until you can only pardon somebody that's been convicted. You get the point now? But if men of God are found to be involved in it, if Yomi Kasali is found to have taken something from that place, prosecute me, go to the court of law. Let me come and say, no, I didn't take from it. Do you know what we're talking about? Thousands of people are dying. This country was on the verge of civil war. Are you aware? Do you know what Boko Haram has done to this country? Do you know how many churches were praying that they are enemies and we're friends? How we almost cut off the north from the south? And some people were just trying to benefit from that. That's not fair on humanity. That's not fair on the lost souls that, do you know how many people are in IDP camps? I visited one church in the north and I spoke with them and the pastor was crying. He told me, a pastor, a big pastor of a big church in north, said they closed 10 zones in Maduguri and upper northeast. They closed it, they shut it down. The Christians that were no longer worshiping Christians, they have close to 1.8 million people in one IDP camp, and we're trying to support them with finances. Our church gave money to support those in those IDP camps. I think sometimes we have a way of just placating these things because they're northerners, not southerners. And those guys could be your brother, could be your sister. They're Nigerians, for crying out loud. And I think we should be very fair.
So what's your assessment of the role of some quote and unquote men of God in the last administration, in the Jonathan administration?
Shameful. I won't say more than that. I will not say, and it's quite despicable, shameful. Today, some of us cannot lift up our heads anymore because I think we allowed our emotions, unfortunately, to get to overwhelm us, and we didn't know where to draw the line.
Can you be specific about some shameful conduct?
Shameful conduct is to go all out, to support deceit, to advocate falsehood, to lie. I will not say lie on God because I'm not God. I will not say you've not heard from God. Whatever you say God told you and God told me could be different. Nobody can have monopoly of what God has said. But I thought churches, men of God are supposed to be moral leaders. Our premise for being respected and revered is in our moral rectitude. The moment we've lost that, the moment we lose that, then we've lost our, call it anointing. Anointing is not also to break yokes. It's also to indeed send the right signal out to people. When you see what is bad, you should say it is bad. When you see what is good, you say it's good. What's shameful for me was that a few of our colleagues, senior colleagues, were saying things about the former administration that were quite false and hypocritical and deceitful. And I felt that was almost like lying. And men of God should not be found lying.
So is it wrong for them to have identified with the former president?
No, but not all lies.
So what exactly did they do wrong?
No, I mean, we know what some of them said. They told lies. I remember before President Yaradua of blessed memory died, I remember, and I'm not going to mention him, some men of God went to the room to see him and said, we've seen him, he's okay, he's fine. Just shortly after a week, he died. He wasn't fine. We have to start confronting these heels and lies. Sir, you told a lie. If this were to be in abroad, other civilized countries, they will confront those men of God. Sir, you told us we saw him. You told us he was fine. And he wasn't fine. It was a lie. You lied.
But perhaps at that time they saw him, he was fine.
He was brain dead. He was brain dead for like weeks.
Did you see him?
No, I didn't see him. But doctors said that. Well, people have said that from newspaper reports that we found out. And those that were close to him, associates, you don't talk to a man that is brain dead. And he was there from Saudi Arabia. And this is the same thing that happened with President Jonathan. Great
if you
man.
have been privileged to have been invited at that time, would you be saying something different?
I would then to Yaradua, and I see the man as brain dead, and I'll come and say, I will never say the man is fine. You don't know me. I will not keep my mouth shut.
But it's easier said now.
No. That means you don't know me. I would never, ever tell a lie of such a matter. I would rather keep my mouth shut than come out and deceive Nigerians.
Now, you believe that the conduct of certain of your colleagues, your senior colleagues now in the last administration, was shameful.
I think so.
But what was it bad about supporting a certain administration? After all, you have supported the APC.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. Listen to me. There's nothing absolutely wrong in supporting somebody. I think we should be careful how we take it to the pulpit. My support was not on pulpit. I did not use my pulpit once to advocate that you should vote for APC, because I knew even within my pastorate, we discussed in my pastorate, we had those that had PDP sentiments and those of us that had AP sentiments. And when the fracas was coming out, I would tell them, hey, pastors, keep it cool, keep it calm. This is church. Let's go out there and preach the word of God, build men up, teach them the ways of God. I did not use my pulpit once throughout those months to advocate, campaign, or preach. I think it's an abuse of pulpit to use your pulpit to advocate and campaign for a party. It's unethical. Under pastoral ethics, it's not right.
Perhaps we should be specific now. Now, do you condemn the conduct of Reverend Father Mbaka, who speaks from the pulpit and condemns the conduct of certain governments?
Absolutely. The only difference, absolutely, when Mbaka went out publicly to speak against Goodluck Jonathan at his restoration grounds, I thought that was way above it. I think, because again, he would say it's a crusade ground, not the Catholic Church. He will tell you, I said it at a public place, not as it were on the altar in the Catholic Church. But I still felt that was a bit way overboard.
That brings me to the next question. What should be the traditional role of pastors, men of God, quote and unquote? What should be their traditional role in politics?
I'll explain that to you. I would say it in two ways. The first thing is that a pastor is also a person. A pastor is ordained and anointed of God to oversee a flock, train them, teach them, mentor them, pastor them, guide them to get to heaven. My responsibility as a pastor to my flock is to teach morals. When you set up schools, you expect illiteracy to go down. When you set up churches, you expect immorality to go down. Churches are moral institutions by fiat, by purpose, by default. We're supposed to have morals taught in church. Now, that pastor is also a father. That pastor is also a person, a citizen of Nigeria. That person also has his own rights out there. Now, when I share my political sentiments, I share it as a person. When I go to my church or my pulpit, I do my job as a pastor. I also run an NGO. When I do my NGO to help the poor, feed the poor, clothe naked, I do that to help people, charity, humanitarian effort. That's what I do. One man, multiple caps.
You respond to that, Reverend Kasali. You're watching Fireworks. We'll take a break at this point. When we return, we'll find out more about the consequences from the mix of politics and religion. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. You're on to Fireworks. We have been talking with Reverend Yomi Kasali, Senior Pastor, Foundation of Truth Assembly, and seemingly a vocal political commentator. Now, Reverend Kasali, the consequences now of the mix of politics and religion. Practical examples when issues get out of hand of the pastors who seemingly get involved in politics, they are unable to bear it, which takes us back to their involvement being questionable in the first place.
I know, but again, it's a moral issue for the pastors that mess up in politics. I do not envy their positions, neither will I say it's easy for them to be at such crosses. In the first place, they will start questioning they are going into politics. Ideally, they shouldn't be there. But also, even in ministry.
Ideally, they shouldn't be there.
For such people, not for others that probably will get in there and come out unscathed, untouched, unwounded, if you have your moral attitudes right. Same goes for those in church. Even pastors in church have issues and they mess up their scandals. They're around them and say, oh, what do you mean? Are you a pastor? Yes, we have scandals and crises everywhere. As long as it's a moral issue, people expect pastors to be moral leaders, to live above board. And so if you're going to go and sort out certain things, certain messes created by others within the marketplace, be it in politics or in business.
A big challenge in the first place to be above board within your immediate environment, which is the church?
Yes.
Isn't it taking on too much, going outside and trying to live above board?
As long as God gives you the grace. I agree with you, it's taking too much. But if you guys can take it, let him go.
So how many so far have gotten the grace to live above board in politics that you have seen?
Not too many. But I suppose, I'm sure Professor Yomi Kasali will do so. Not too many, but I've worked with this guy. He has high moral standards. He loves the Lord. He loves this nation a lot. He wants to fix this nation, he wants to help people. I have no doubt that man in 4 years or 8 years, as the case may be, will live above board.
Now, during the last administration, first of all, are you a member, or is the Foundation of Truth Assembly a member of the Christian Association of Nigeria?
Yes, we are.
Are you aware that the Christian Association of Nigeria during the last administration allegedly benefited from that administration to the tune of 7 billion naira?
Not yet proven, yes, but we've heard that. Alleged,
so,
yes.
Alleged. So by extension, did the Foundation of Truth Assembly benefit from that
Absolutely.
largesse?
No, you can be sure we can get that. They won't give us.
Why?
Because we're not part of those people that take it. But it didn't get to me. Nobody gave me money. If they offered us money, we'll have thrown it back. If they know me, nobody will try to offer me such money. I will throw it back at them. Because the Bible says that money perish with thee. When my soul and my salvation and my votes are not for sale. So maybe if we heard that it's all out there, but yet to be proven. But we didn't benefit pretty much.
So why do you belong to such an association, if it is true that indeed that the Christian Association of Nigeria benefited from that largesse?
Well, I belong to PFN and Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria is my block, and PFN is a member of CAN. CAN is a bigger block, but CAN has 5 major blocks. PFN just occupies one of the blocks of CAN. So I believe in freedom of association. I believe that people should align forces and network together. I believe that also, I do not believe in isolation. So I belong to PFN. I see nothing wrong with that. Even if there's a PFN took some money, that would be leaders of PFN. It won't be PFN as an organization, because that is against the ethics and the morals of PFN. However, what we should do is when it is proven, and we're waiting for them to prove it, and I guarantee you, the moment
so you're not even sure?
Yes, because it's not proven. It's all allegations. You just said it is alleged.
But why belong to an association which you're not sure of its activities?
No. We all do. We've asked our leaders. They said they didn't take anything. I have been in meetings where we asked them. I was in that
But
meeting.
some pastors say they collected, that they benefited. The popular Reverend Musa Dikwa from Borno State said indeed it is true that the PFN collected 7 billion naira from the last administration.
Musa said 7 billion naira, and that they gave him about 20 or 30 million. I don't know how much they gave to him. We have challenged our leaders. They've denied it. So until it's proven in court, I've challenged them. We had a meeting where we discussed the matter, and it was denied. We challenged the PFN president, and we challenged the CAN president. I was at that meeting, and they said, no, nothing like that. That the man is just lying.
But there is no rumor without an element of truth.
I'm waiting for you to prove it for me. If Musa can come with facts, and I will support it. We then can ask them to resign. So what we should do?
But a former governor and current minister also supported the claim. Will the current Minister of Aviation, Amechi, will he make frivolous allegations? I sent a report to His Excellency, the former governor and the ministers, that I would like to know the names and facts. I am one of the very few, and I recall discussing at a meeting with one of my fathers in the law, Bishop Michael Kunko. We said we want to get facts. For me, what I would think we should do is, if you can give us facts, we would demand for resignations of certain people from offices within the CAN and PFN. But without facts, it will be seen as witch hunting. I mean, you understand that. If somebody is telling you that I took some money and I said I didn't take the money, and they say no because I choose to believe the person that said it. You know, it is wrong. The key issue is my position. One, it is wrong for PFN or CAN to take money if they did. Until proven so, if they did, it will be Your
wrong.
leaders that you say you challenged, are they leaders at the state level or leaders at the national level?
We had a meeting at the national level, we challenged them. They said no, they didn't take money.
But we know that some of your leaders at the national level were close allies of the former administration.
They didn't deny that. They didn't deny that.
So you believe them?
No. They didn't deny they were close allies. But if somebody denies that I took money, what do I do? You get the point? Sir, you are very close to this person, yes. It's like somebody telling me that I'm close to you.
I was not at that meeting.
Yes, I'm close to Shibaju. Yes.
I must take you for your word, but certain people may not be able to take you for your word. So I make bold to ask you, are you shielding some members of the state's chapter?
I would not shield anybody. Take it from me.
All right, Reverend, let's rest that. I read one of your interviews and you said the church as an entity or institution should never establish business organizations.
I support that.
You stand by that?
I stand by it.
Absolutely.
I stand by it. Totally.
But is that the case in Christendom? Christendom in Nigeria as it is?
It's not. Because God says you cannot serve mammon and God. Church is supposed to be a moral institution, not a business enterprise. I don't know how else I can say that. Churches have no business setting up businesses. It's wrong. The only purpose of setting up business is to make profit. I mean, I did that elementary. I had my business before. I understand that. That's elementary principles of business. You set up a business to make profit. So churches that set up businesses, their aim is to make profit. And in trying to profiteer, they would do things.
Indeed, some Pentecostal churches are leading investors.
It doesn't make it right.
In private university education.
It doesn't make it right.
You condemn it?
No, what they will say to you.
You won't send your children to those institutions?
No, I won't. And that's the fact. Let me tell you what they will say to you.
You are saying this confidently.
Definitely.
You can be quoted anywhere. That you wouldn't send your children to those institutions, which happen to be some of the best.
No, that's a business. Let me tell you.
Albeit expensive.
No, that's a business. Let me tell you my view on this matter. If I, Reverend Yomi Kasali, by grace, somebody gave me £1 billion, and I would doubt that will happen, and I use my personal funds to set up a school. Watch me, a school, and that school is not. There's no link between that my school and my church, and I didn't take offering from my church to set up that school. I didn't do a fundraising for my church for that school. Then that school is okay. That is Yomi Kasali doing business, not my church. Not my church. It's me doing business. But if I do raise funds for my church and I get the proceeds from that church to do a business, and I tell my people, this is our school, our church school, that is wrong. Then my members cannot attend. There are two different things. What you will hear people say is when those universities belong to one man, not the church, even though the man is the head of the church. So it's people now connecting the school with the university. But they will tell you that. But I don't know. We need clarity. So I do not want to make comments as well as regards those. But churches that do set up schools, universities, and businesses, and from the proceeds of tithes and offering, which God expects us to use to propagate the gospel and alleviate suffering.
But it is indeed men of God like you who stand on the pulpit and preach prosperity.
Prosperity of the church or prosperity of individuals?
Prosperity of everything, of the church. I have heard it said by men of God that God is a businessman.
Tell them, quote me, they are wrong. What kind of business? God does business of soul winning. God does not do business of money making. That's an insult on heaven. Because Jesus said, I must be about my Father's business. What was it? To help men, to win souls. God does not serve money. Mammon and God are not together. How can you tell me God is a business now? What kind of business did God do in scriptures?
So if the church publishes devotionals, written by its pastor, if the church publishes books written by its pastor, and it decides to, instead of taking all of this to a company outside to publish for us, let's set up our own printing press. It's wrong, it's out of place?
It's not wrong. I've not said it's wrong. I can set up a printing press in my church, and it's not meant for business or for profiteering. Don't get me wrong. I will do a printing press in my church. I will print my devotionals and my materials, resource materials for ministry. I would sell those materials.
Would you distribute them free of charge to your congregation?
No, wait. Let me teach you something I like about the Catholic Church. I like the Catholic Church in a different way. Catholic Church would set up such enterprise, make the money, the proceeds that they have accounts. The proceeds there will be used to plow back to do scholarships, welfare. They won't spend that money on personal private jets or what have you. The proceeds they make from such enterprises will be used for the gospel, to pay for missionaries, to establish more churches, to help those that are poor. Do you know how many missionaries on the field that can't even afford 3 square meals? They say, okay, from that proceeds, 20% of the proceeds of this business will go to feed missionaries, 20% for scholarship, 20% to alleviate poverty in our midst, to do church planting. But that business, so it's not seen as a business profiteering for an individual or for an enterprise. That's the difference. Now, if you do that, that's not, in my opinion, church business. But the question has always been, these enterprises we are setting up and businesses, where does the profit go? You find that a few individuals take all the money. And that's my point. Because if you plow it back to propagating the gospel, to alleviating poverty, to paying scholarships, to doing things that are humanitarian in nature, people will not say that that's profiteering. And we live a larger than life lifestyle. People will not say that. There will be no cry, there will be no wolf.
The fact that some men of God are into business, which you condemn, which are extensions of their ministries, some of these men of God are the richest men of God on the African continent. Now, is it a contradiction to you that this same continent has the highest number of the poor?
It's sad. I won't say more than that. It's sad. There's nothing wrong. I'm not against men of God being rich. I'm only concerned with the source of their wealth. We do no longer ask people about sources of your wealth. And if it's from businesses that you're making from church enterprises, I think it's not ethical. We must look at the ethics of our profession. We must understand that every profession and every vocation has got ethics. You have some for your media, you're journalists, you know what is right to do and what's wrong to do. So as pastors as well. People just know that right now we've thrown ethics, we've thrown morals out of the window. Everything goes and anything goes. And I think it's deeply unethical. We must live a life of moderation. The richest church in the world is the Catholic Church. You won't find their bishops or their fathers or their cardinals living larger than life. I think we are allowing some of our carnal desires to come out, and it weakens our spirituality. So I'm against that. People do not think we're against wealth. I'm not against wealth. I want to know the source of your wealth. And I think also the use of your wealth matters. And above all, there's something called moderation. You can be modest. You can be extremely wealthy and still be modest. You don't have to throw your swagger around to say, I'm wealthy. That's not how to preach the gospel. That's not the gospel I want to receive. I want to receive, look, my late father was a Muslim and he had some little wealth. And I don't need to be born again to be wealthy. That's what I tell people. I don't need salvation to be wealthy. Aliko is not born again and he's the wealthiest man in Africa. So if all you tell me about God is wealth, then I don't want to be a Christian. I don't have to be a Christian. I don't have to be a church person to be wealthy. That's what I'm saying. And I can go out there, do business, but you can't be a morally sound person without being a Christian. So the reason we preach in church is to make men moral creatures, not wealthy creatures.
Finally,
yes, please.
Before I wrap up this session,
yes,
you have staked your integrity on the vice president now. You have supported him all out.
Absolutely.
Now, what happens if the All Progressives Congress fails Nigerians?
They will not fail Nigerians. I don't want to go through what happens if. I can tell you it will not happen. Quote me anywhere. It will not happen. I'm waiting for 4 years. I want to come back in 4 years' time and come and tell me. If you think they'll fail, they will not fail Nigerians.
All right. That's how it's been on Fireworks today. We have been talking with the senior pastor, Reverend Yomi Kasali, and vocal political commentator, of course, who also supported Vice President Yemi Osinbajo during the 2015 presidential election. And you've heard it all. Some of the things that we may be taking away is that Reverend Kasali does not support the preaching of prosperity above salvation, and he holds the position that it weakens the spirituality. What's your take on politics and religion mixing? You decide after this edition. On behalf of the crew, I am Bukola Samuel-Wemimo. Bye for now. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Buki. Thanks, appreciate it.